Hi everyone, and welcome to another Green Tech Southwest. This is my first ever Green Tech Southwest from my new apartment, so ignore the kitchen in the background. I'm not yet shoved my desk around to be in the right place yet. So yeah, you just get to enjoy that with me. Hi Alex, good to see you. Welcome to what's going to be another great talk from Green Tech Southwest. Really looking forward to this one. We do look forward to all of ours, but yeah, this one is we're really be going global with this one with Dan tuning in from the US, which is meaning he's actually tuning in at 6:30 his time, which in the morning. So massive thanks to him for that kind of commitment. I guess it's quite something to have to deliver something at. Deliver a talk at 6:30 in the morning. I definitely don't think I could do that. Usual format. We'll be getting started in about 5 or 6 minutes or so. It's just for giving everyone an opportunity to get logged in, get settled, get your sound working, all the usual technical joys that come with online events. And then we'll look to kick off around 1 o'clock. We'll go through, so for those of you who have joined our events before, you can just ignore me, put me on mute, whichever. But just for any newcomers, we just follow a bit of a format where we'll sort of introduce ourselves, we'll tell you a bit more about Green Tech Southwest and what we're about. Then there'll be the opportunity for 60-second intros as well, which is just, we do want to make sure these events are as community-led as possible, and, that everyone can benefit from this platform and, get your word out there. So if you want to do a 60-second intro, Hannah will tell you a bit more about it, but basically it's an opportunity for you to shout out about anything that you're working on, whether that's a project or if you've heard of something that you think will be really beneficial to the rest of the community. It can be a humble brag, a shameless brag. There's absolutely no qualms with that here as well. Just a bit of promotion and get the word out there. So if you do, if that's something you want to be interested, or you'd want to be involved with, just pop your name down in the comment section, and what we'll invite you on screen when it's the time, it'll also be clear from there. But Hannah will tell a bit more about that, and then we'll welcome Dan. There'll be a quick introduction, and he'll deliver his talk, and then there'll be a Q&A session at the end. We love how interactive everyone is in the comment section and throughout these events. It's amazing. Any sort of thoughts, opinions, anything, just feel free to chuck them down. Introduce yourselves. We love to see it. Everyone popping their names down, where they're tuning in from, what they do. It's really great to see people interact in the comment section as well. Gives it that sort of physical meetup vibe. But it also means that what we do is there's there'll be a Q&A session at the end. So there's an ask a question section, which should just be down the bottom sort of right hand side of your screens. If you have got a question for Dan throughout the talk, feel free to pop them in there. We do try to sort of keep an eye on the comments section as much as possible, just to make sure that that any questions that do get picked up. But it's helpful if you do pop them in there, because it gives other people an opportunity to upvote their questions as well, or if there's a question they really like answered, you can vote them that way and make sure that the sort of most interested questions get asked. We'll also be uploading some polls throughout the talk, which will pop down next to the ask a question section. Get involved with those if you like. We make sure that it's all shared at the end. And so, this is sort of related to talk. It's always great to sort of see what people know about the subject sort of prior to the talk, and what people tend to learn throughout. So, it's great to see you all sort of tuning in. Hi, Vinco. Congratulations on joining us for the first time. Welcome. We hope we don't disappoint. So you're a software developer and by night I sleep. I wish I could say the same. I'm definitely not much of a sleeper, unfortunately. bit of an insomniac, but definitely seems like a healthy balance. So what we we do know that a lot of developers and people in sort of the software developing world will be interested in this talk. So what we've done as well is we have had a lot of speakers over the past year and a bit who sort of follow in that theme. of sustainable development and that side of things. So what we've actually done, but Hannah again will tell you a bit more about this, is put together a document collating all our speakers and talk and events with that sort of subject matter, so that it's all in one place if you do want to find out a bit more, or just have that all access to that all in one go. So yeah, we'll share that with you all later. But yeah, we'll be hoping to sort of put things like that together a bit more as throughout the months, as we sort of tend to get some more overlapping themes. So yeah, we'll be getting started in about a minute or so. If you've just joined us, welcome. Yeah, if you're looking for Green Tech Southwest, you're definitely in the right place, so stay tuned. Yeah, we've just been talking a little bit about the structure and the format, and what we're looking forward to in today's talk. So it's really great, as I said, to get people to pop your names down, like where you're from, where you're tuning in from, what bring you here. And so you've got Patrick from the Netherlands. That's amazing. Thanks for joining, Patrick. And it's one of your third or fourth meetups at Green Tech Southwest. That's great. Thanks for coming back. We love it. And Naomi from Berkshire as well. No, sorry, Numi from Berkshire as well, UK. Lovely. I love how we're getting people from all over Europe and the US and the UK as well. It's definitely more reach than we ever could have dreamed of when we first started this. So yeah, I love the people who are tuning in. In which case I won't. I decided to not bring up the football for that exact reason, because of our sort of more international following. I don't want to be met with too many groans and eye rolls. So we've got another first timer, Peter. Oh God, I've just been asked to give some Dutch. By I think that's probably Hannah or Mike behind there. I am actually half Dutch, so but I'm probably not going to embarrass myself on the screen today. Yeah, oh great, so we've got some more first timers and more people. No, that was Mike. I thought it might be. So that's great. Yeah, we've got some locals as well. But yeah, really glad to hear that everyone's looking forward to it. And yeah, we should be getting started in a few minutes or so. And as I mentioned, yeah, if anyone is, I don't know if people weren't, in case you missed it when I mentioned it earlier, but if people are interested in doing a 60-second intro, or just a community shout out, whichever, feel free to just pop your name down in the comments, and we can invite you on. Hi, Hannah.
Hey. Great intro, Eleanor. I appreciate you doing that. Yeah, you're always so good. I hope everybody feels welcome. I feel welcomed when I listen to you, Ellen. But I mean, that's the idea of your intro chat, isn't it? So fill the gaps, let people know about stuff, and hopefully give everyone a nice warm welcome wherever you're from. All right, so great job as always, Ellen. Thank you. Shall we get cracking? It's like literally bang on 1 o'clock, isn't it? So let's do some slides. Cool. Is that looking okay to everyone? Slides?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. So, those of you that have been here for a few minutes already have heard the wonderful Ellen just telling you a bit about what's going on in the community, what's going on today, and she's hopefully given you a nice warm welcome. If you've just tuned in, let's do it again. Welcome to Green Tech Southwest to everyone today. Whether it's your first event or you've been, to a number of our events, we're always super stoked to have you here. Means a lot to us to have such a great audience. We're expecting a good turnout today, aren't we? I think, there's a lot of you interested in today's topic, and we will get cracking with that topic at about 1:45. Just before that, we have some sort of warm-up stuff, community stuff to talk through. For those of you that don't know Green Tech Southwest, we are a voluntary run community group, and what we exist to do is to create discussion and generate insight around how tech and sustainability interrelate with one another, both positively and negatively. We are sponsored by AdLib Recruitment. So hello to the folks at AdLib, and Nick, thank you very much for continuing to support the group. I know we've got a good lot of people from AdLib listening in today as well, which is super cool. So thanks to everyone there for supporting the group. Woohoo! Thank you. We also are supported and work closely with 2 other organisations, and hopefully you can see their logos up on the screen, the Future Economy Network and Climate Action Tech. And both of those groups we will talk to you a little bit more about at the end. So if you haven't heard of them before, we'll fill you in, because they're both really cool and very, very good organisations to know about. We're on social media as well, and we do quite a lot of social mediaing around the events and in between our events as well. So if you are a Twitterer, you can find us at greentech_southwest. And the very lovely Joe from AdLib. Hello, Joe. I hope you're doing well. The very lovely Joe is going to be doing live tweeting for us. Joe is particularly good at live tweeting, I have to say. Joe, you're really able to sort of sum up a lot of complex information really well in a series of tweets. So we are ever so grateful to you. Thank you, Joe, for all you do to support us behind the scenes. We're also on LinkedIn as well. So you can catch us with the hashtag GreenTechSouthwest, and you can also find our Green Tech Southwest page as well. I'm wondering if Mike or Ellen might just be able to drop links in to our Twitter account and LinkedIn account. Just realised we don't do that, and that's probably like a massively stupid thing that we're not doing, and we should be. Uh-oh. Oh no, watch out, Hannah's going off script. Right, I'll stay on script. Okay, so next slide. So, as always, myself, Mike and Ellen are incredibly grateful for you being here. We are the 3 organisers. We're not going to introduce ourselves today, but we're all on screen multiple times, actually, so hopefully you'll get to know us. And you're very welcome to reach out to us if you want to talk about anything to do with today's event or give us feedback or anything like that. But that's us. So hi. Right, cracking on then. I already mentioned this bit. So what Green Tech exists to do, we exist to share insight and generate discussion. At the very heart of what we do is that we try and support a local community. And that was obviously a lot easier when we were meeting face to face. We still don't have any plans to meet face to face yet. I think we've all discussed and decided that we're just going to see what happens over the next few months before doing that. And actually, I think I speak on behalf of Mike and Ellen when we say that we just absolutely love having these online events and having such a global community of people coming to join us. It is so cool and very, very exciting. So, you know, we're super stoked to have you here, wherever you're from. So thank you. We do also have a code of conduct and a group constitution. Not that we've ever felt that we've needed to tell anyone off for misbehaving or anything like that. You guys and girls are all super, super lovely, and we're very grateful for that. But just in case, we're popping some links to those things in the comments now. So I've added a couple of new slides today because we were sort of having a bit of a think about everything that we've achieved through the group since we started in February 2020. Yes, that right? Yeah, I've lost a year. I'm sure many people have. So we started in February 2020, and we just wanted to sort of bring together all the speakers that we've had, and we made a little picture just sort of showcasing all of our speaker alumni, and we've popped Dan on there, even though he hasn't gone yet. He will be a speaker alumni in the next half hour or so. And so what we've been doing is working really hard to start trying to surface our past content. So actually, I think Jerry McGovern is with us today, and Jerry did a talk for us. And something Jerry talks about a lot is about sustainable content and making use of your content and not creating it and then sort of fire and forget about it. So Jerry, thank you very much for, giving us those ideas, and we're trying to bring them to life a little bit more by making past talks that we've had much easier to find. So we've done a lot of talks on sustainable software in the past. We've had six sessions, 6 events on that topic with 7 speakers. So we're going to drop in the comments shortly a link to a Medium post that summarises all these talks for you, gives you access to all the videos and gives you access to all the slides and all the stuff that happened around those events. because they're all still very relevant talks. They're all still really, really good. And we know that lots of you here want this stuff, and we exist to try and help. So hopefully you'll find that useful. So that's going to ping into the comments. There we are, like magic. Great. So give us your thoughts if you find that stuff useful or not. Let us know. So one thing that we are doing is, because we're trying to resurface our old content, we are looking to grow the Green Tech Southwest Organiser crew. So if you're interested in volunteering, it's very casual. We try and make it fun. If you're interested in getting involved in helping us run this group on a voluntary basis, just drop us an email, greentechsw@gmail.com. We'd love to have a couple more people come and join us, to keep us diverse, to keep our thinking fresh, but also to help us make the most of all this amazing content that we find ourselves with. Cool. Right, so on to community 60-second intros. Ellen mentioned these already. So we are obviously running online events at the moment, and that comes with its own advantages. But one thing we do want to try and do is create opportunities for those of you who are our members to sort of get to know each other. So we have community 60-second intros, and they're an opportunity for you to come on screen. So we'll enable your camera and your mic. And yes, it's an opportunity for you to come on screen and share something. So for example, maybe a project or an initiative you're working on. Maybe you're looking for some help or some guidance. Or maybe you've come across some knowledge or resource that you would like to share with others. So this slot exists to allow you to, like, if we were in a room together, it would be the equivalent of someone standing up and being like, hello, this is me. I'm working on this, and it's really nice to meet you all. It's that kind of thing. So if there is anybody who would like to take advantage of our community 60-second slots, let us know in the comments. Probably, I hope I'm pointing that way. They're on that side of the screen for me. It's where my comment box is now. Ella's that way. Okay, so that was pointless. Confusing. Let us know in the comments if you would like to come on screen now and do a community 60-second intro on any one of those things, or even something else if you think there's something missing. So I haven't seen anyone post yet. Okay, Beth. Hello, Beth. Nice to see you today. You're up for an intro. So that is fantastic. We normally have space for 4 or 5 intros. So if there's anybody else there that wants to come on in, you're very welcome to. So Beth, we're going to invite you to the screen now, and hopefully you'll appear in a moment or two. Oh, this is like, I think we've been told that this is a bit like the sort of BBC Children in Need thing. For those of you that are British, you'll probably know what we're talking about, where you're like live from the studio and you're kind of waiting for everyone to appear. And here's Beth. Fantastic.
Hello.
Beth, nice to see you today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Oh, good. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're quite excited about Dan's talk, actually. We've been
Same.
waiting for this for ages. So anyway, I'll shut up and let you have your 60 seconds of glory. You know how to do this, right?
Yes, I think so. We'll give it a go.
Give it a go. All right, and I've got a timer going, so if you start to go over, I'll tell you, so don't worry.
Okay, perfect.
And I'm not I won't 60 seconds, but you've got to stop, We'll give you a little wiggle room. Anyway, I'll shush. Beth, over to you. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for the opportunity. So my name is Beth Hewitt. I'm the marketing manager at Yellow Dog, and I just wanted to quickly introduce you to the Yellow Dog Index. So the Yellow Dog Index is a free resource that enables you to view and analyze over 67,000 available cloud machines. So users can go on, select the properties that they're looking for, so whether that's cloud provider, the location, the machine type, and the index will return the best options that fit that criteria. So it's sort of like a compare the market, but for cloud computing. But what's really cool about the Yellow Dog Index is it also allocates an eco score to each machine based on the energy source that's used to power the data center. So this enables companies to not only find the machine that fits their needs, but they can also then select the most sustainable option that's available. And interestingly, oftentimes you find that the price could be the same for the exact same machine that's powered by fossil fuels as one powered by renewable energy. It kind of comes down to location and that kind of stuff. So it's really useful to know. And the additional advantage of this is that businesses can factor in sustainability before they run their workloads. So it's not something that they're reviewing after they've used the resources. So environmental impact then becomes really embedded in the decision-making process. So as I mentioned before, it's a free tool. You don't need to sign up or anything. So if you'd like to try it out, all you have to do is head to www.index.yellowdog.co, and I can drop it in the comments as well if you want to head there. And that's it.
Awesome, Beth. I'm so glad that you've come along today and told us a little bit about that. And I was about to say, do use the comments now to drop any relevant links and your contact details or whatever you feel comfortable doing. That was absolutely perfect. I think you were like 70 seconds, which is amazing.
Oh, I'll go with it. I'll take it.
I definitely couldn't do a 60-second intro. I'd need at least 7 minutes. So well done.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure,
Beth. Great to see you today. Thank you so much. Great. And we have our next 60-second slot speaker. Oh, that's a bit of a tongue twister. Adrian, welcome to the screen.
Hi. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
We can hear you and we can see your wonderful collection of guitars behind you as well. It's great. So Adrian, I'm going to pass over to you. You've got 60 seconds.
Yeah, so I'm Adrian Stevenson. I'm actually working from home from Ambleside, so a little way away from Bristol. We've got a couple of colleagues from the organisation that work for GISC. This is Peter and Josh, both newbies. So we're quite a big organisation and we supply a lot of services out of Amazon Web Services. And we're very keen to make them more sustainable, looking at the moment at the carbon footprint tool that's being talked about today. And certainly sustainability is coming up in like procurement and things like that. So I mean, we want to do it for its own sake, of course, but it's it's really important in all sorts of ways. So so that's me, and on behalf of Pete and Josh, if they don't mind me doing so.
Brilliant. Adrian, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today, and that was lovely. It's so nice to have you on the screen doing an intro. That was great. Really, really good. If there's anything you want to drop in the comments, feel free to. If there's anything you would like to like people to follow up on with you, then please do that. Okay, I think we have one more hand that's gone up for doing a community 60-second intro, and that's Ulyss. Ulyss and I have been chatting a little bit actually, so Ulyss, I'm glad that you're coming along, you're here today, and that you're going to be doing a 60-second intro. Oh, there she is. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Can you all hear me okay?
We can hear you and we can see you pretty good as well. So you've already heard a couple of these intros, so you know the drill. So here's your 60 seconds, over to you.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everyone. My name is Ulyss. I'm based in London, and I've been actually having a couple of conversations with Hannah. I'm an anthropologist to be, and I'm researching the tech industry around the topic of climate change and the initiatives that you run in business, activism, and beyond to tackle this huge challenge for us and I guess the planet at large. I'm currently writing my master's dissertation, and I am turning this into a PhD project after. I guess this for me is just to introduce you to the project, and if you're interested in sharing your views with me about the topic and your work that you're doing and what your vision, utopian or dystopian, is for our future, then I would love for you to email me. I'm also happy to send you more information so that you can make up your mind. But I just wanted to say hi.
Awesome, Ulyss, thank you so much. So we've had a few sessions, haven't we? We've just been talking about tech and climate change and sustainability and how they relate. And I've actually really enjoyed the conversations with you because you've asked some really interesting questions that have got me thinking, not just when we've been talking, but got me thinking later on, especially when I'm washing up. That seems to be when my brain does the thinking, is washing up. So Ulyss, please use the comments to put some further information in and a way for people to contact you. And I would encourage you, if you're there and you have views and opinions on climate change and tech, give Ulyss a shout. because yeah, it was a fun interview. I really enjoyed it. Great. Okay then. So Eunice, we're going to exit you from the screen. Thank you so much for your shout out today. Folks, I haven't seen any other hands go up. Mike and Ellen, did you spot anything else? No. All right. Fantastic. Let's move on because we're just running a little bit over already. That's my fault. Okay, so Mike is going to come on. Well, you're already here. Mike is going to introduce Dan, and we're going to crack on to learning all about cloud carbon footprints. Yoo-hoo! Very excited. So Ellen and I are going to disappear off the screen, hopefully flawlessly. Oh, look at that.
And she's gone. Hi, Dan. How you doing?
Doing very well, Mike. It's great to be here.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for agreeing to come along and at such an early time in the morning. I know you're in Tennessee at the moment, which is fantastic. So yeah, everyone's really excited about the talk, and yeah, we just remind people to try and use the Ask a Question section just down the bottom. We will grab any questions that come up in the comments, and we'll try and get through as many as we can sort of before we finish the talk, and then we'll Dan's very kindly agreed to hang around to finish up the questions afterwards as well. And just a quick note, this is recorded, so you will be able to see it back if you join late, or if you want to check out the links again. We will be rounding everything up, and Ellen will be sending that out hopefully later today. So I'm sure Dan will be keen to sort of get in contact with anyone who's interested in picking up the conversation as well. So we'll signpost towards that as well. But great, I'll hand over to you, Dan. And yeah, thanks very much again. Yeah, very much look forward to hearing your talk.
Awesome. Let me share my screen. Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping folks can see my slides. So yeah, just to quickly introduce myself, I'm Dan. I'm an Australian. I'm normally based in Brooklyn, New York, but I'm in Nashville, Tennessee at the moment with my girlfriend's folks. And I'm the Green Cloud lead for Thoughtworks North America. So I help our clients start to understand what the energy consumption is and carbon emissions from their cloud usage. And prior to joining Thoughtworks about 2 years ago, I spent most of my career building software solutions for nonprofits and activist organizations focused on solving the climate crisis. So sort of spent a lot of time in the nonprofit world, and now joined Thoughtworks. And I'm really excited to speak with everyone today about this topic. So green, I'm sure this probably goes without saying to this audience, but green tech is a really hot topic at the moment. And before I jump into some of the specifics around Green Cloud, there's two articles, one by Accenture and one by a Harvard Business Review that really speak well to this topic being, increasingly important for organizations. So Accenture's article speaks to moving from on-prem to the cloud can result in large reductions in energy, 65% in usage, and up to 85% reduction in carbon, which is really amazing. However, the article also notes that if you take advantage of cloud-native technologies and cloud optimizations, it can even lead to greater emissions reductions, possibly up to 98%. And then the Harvard Business Review article also speaks to what if you design and develop and deploy your applications in such a way, can also have significant impact. And also, I really loved what Beth said earlier, actually, and because I like to think about this as well, in that if we can bake in sustainability metrics and design software in a way and utilize sustainability KPIs as part of cross-functional requirements, like we would consider performance, security, or cost, or accessibility, then we can have a much better approach to tech's IT carbon footprint. And so trying to incorporate that from the start rather than necessarily adding it at the end. So when it comes to cloud carbon emissions, this is kind of how at a high level I like to sort of think about the problem space of the domain. And I kind of think it's helpful to think about it in two parts. First is what the cloud providers can do, and second is what IT organizations or customers of cloud providers have more control over. So firstly, with the cloud providers on the left, you can think about the energy source that is powering the servers that make up the cloud, whether that's renewable energy sources or powered by fossil fuels. In many cases, data centers are powered by fossil fuel or energy that generates carbon emissions. And cloud providers, to different extents, do purchase energy attributes such as renewable energy credits, or RECs for short, that essentially pay for generation of a certain amount of renewable energy to account for the more dirty energy that might be used to power that data center. However, even if a cloud provider does purchase energy attributes like RECs, it doesn't change the fact that the carbon emissions are still generated in the first place if the energy is not renewable. We can also think about the physical infrastructure of the data centers, the building itself, and how efficient it be. And there's a key metric that relates to this called power usage effectiveness, or PUE for short. It basically describes the energy needed for things such as cooling the data center versus the energy used to directly power the services provided by the cloud providers. So you want to have a power usage effectiveness that it's essentially as close to 1 as possible. And so I've heard about examples of cloud providers moving data centers underwater or redirecting heat coming out of the data centers to reduce their power usage effectiveness metric. So that's more in the hands of the cloud providers, but as customers, we can also consider the services that we're using, the software that we're being run. So there's opportunities to look into the compute workloads, how many servers are we actually requiring, networking, memory. Those 4 categories, compute, storage, memory, networking, is kind of how I like to break down usage in the cloud, and it's also how our open source software tool that I'm going to mention in a little bit classifies the usage as well. We can also look at the number of and size of requests to end users, or if maybe you don't actually have human end users, you might have non-human users such as other software applications. So, but that's just trying to give a bit of a big picture on how we could think about the different components that make up cloud carbon emissions. So I'm going to jump right to some existing tools in the space that I highly recommend that you check out. And I'll be providing the slides, so we'll be sending out the slides so you can click through to all these links. So these are some of the existing tools in the space, and I apologize if I'm missing 1 or 2. I'd love to hear in the questions or comments if we should be adding more to the list. But first up, Etsy published their Cloud Joules methodology in April last year, I believe, and it uses publicly available information to determine conservative coefficients for estimating the energy used for compute and storage of Google Cloud. And it's a really great place to start if you're a customer of Google Cloud. And they've also open sourced the SQL query they use as well that you can check out, which is great because you can then customize it for your use case. The Green Web Foundation has 2 open source tools that are really cool. CO2JS provides a quick way to estimate emissions from the amount of data your application processes, and Green Cost Explorer allows you to know which AWS regions you are using that are more sustainable, because Amazon purchases those energy attributes that I mentioned earlier, like renewable energy credits, to match the non-renewable energy in 5 of their regional data centers. The team at Hublo built an open source tool, I believe it's pronounced Scafon, but I'm happy to be corrected, that allows you to measure the energy consumption of bare metal hosts and virtual machines. Microsoft also provide their sustainability calculator for enterprise customers, which is a dashboard that allows you to visualize the carbon emissions of your Azure usage and also compare that to what it might be if you were on-premise versus the cloud provider. And lastly, the team at Teads have an open source tool called TurboStress that allows you to measure power consumption of bare metal Linux hosts. And I haven't got the link here, but Teads also published a few articles that go into a lot of technical detail on how they're estimating energy consumption for their AWS usage with that tool. So highly recommend you check it out. They go into a good amount of detail. So at Thoughtworks, where I work, we've been working on an open source tool for nearly almost a year now. We started building it in roughly August or September last year. And we published it a couple of months ago under an Apache 2.0 license, and it pulls usage data from multiple cloud providers. and estimates the energy and carbon emissions associated with compute, storage, networking, and memory. It currently supports AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure. And we're thinking this could be a great tool for not only sustainability professionals to look back over time and maybe understand the carbon footprint from a reporting perspective, but also for developers and infrastructure folks, DevOps folks, similar to how Beth was saying that we can make better, day-to-day, closer to real-time decisions about our cloud architecture or workloads to optimize them. And yeah, but we also hope it's a useful tool for stakeholders like sustainability leads and people in operations team, so they can look and track cost and emissions over time. And this next slide kind of summarizes what I was just saying. But the key point for me is that, traditional sustainability departments or teams might consider their, over the last, financial year or calendar year, look back over time and try to quantify the carbon emissions associated with the IT organization or cloud, maybe do it on an annual basis or maybe a little bit more often than that. But what we're hoping with cloud carbon footprint is that we can provide some of these metrics, kilowatt hours of energy, metric tons of CO2 equivalent to IT organizations and software development teams to be able to understand the environmental impact of the code they deploy and help make better decisions on a day-to-day basis to reduce carbon emissions and energy consumption, but also cost as well. I think cost is often a fairly good proxy when it comes to energy and carbon emissions, but it's not always the case. And something that I speak with clients about and that we want to try to identify is the sweet spot where you're able to make changes to your cloud infrastructure that reduces carbon emissions, but also reduces cost as well. So these are some of the user personas or types of people that we're hoping would use the software. So this fun little diagram is basically trying to show how cloud carbon footprint works at a high level. So we pull usage data from AWS, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure. They all have fairly equivalent, they're called like cost and usage or billing data APIs that we pull all the different types of usage from your organization or account. And then the application converts it into estimated energy in kilowatt hours and carbon emissions in carbon dioxide equivalent. Carbon dioxide equivalent, or CO2e, is essentially a metric for looking at all different types of greenhouse gases. So methane is an example of greenhouse gas that is not carbon dioxide, but it basically rolls up all those other greenhouse gases into a single metric. There are a number of different options for how you can use or view the data out of the box. The app, we provide a front-end dashboard for you to view the metrics in various charts with a variety of filters, and I'm going to do a short demo of that front end shortly. But maybe you want to configure and deploy the API that we've built and then ingest that resulting carbon emissions metrics and data to other services. Because you might have your own data visualization tooling or software that you don't need another front end. So we also provide that API that you can then consume the data from. We also provide a command line interface or CLI to view the data in a number of formats, like a table with a variety of different options, or you could just save the data to a CSV file if you then want to go and upload it into your tool of choice to consume the data. Really, the point here is that we're trying to really make it a plug and play approach where you consume your cloud carbon metrics in a way that is valuable to your organization and not, necessarily a one-size-fit-all approach to any particular use case. Just to double click a little bit on how the tool works, this slide is kind of trying to give a little bit more detail in terms of, under the hood, how it works. So the first step in the methodology or algorithm is that we take usage data, and I've listed example metrics there, like the number of virtual CPU hours, terabytes of data stored, terabytes of data transferred over the wire from one cloud provider region to another. And then we utilize those metrics, and for compute and storage, we leverage an updated version of Etsy's Cloud Joules that I mentioned earlier. And then for networking and memory, we've determined what we think are some reasonable coefficients to convert that into energy consumption based on the latest research in the space. But I will say, for this step in the methodology, but also the entire methodology, we're very open to feedback and improvements. It's a very new space that we're trying to work in to estimate carbon emissions. So really appreciate feedback or improvements, because we also don't know what we don't know. So the next step is that we then take that energy consumption and multiply it by the power usage effectiveness of the cloud providers. And we've selected these PUE figures based on publicly available information. Google Cloud actually published their trailing 12-month PUE every quarter. So we have, and they also publish it for specific data center regions as well. So we can get a little bit more fine-grained understanding. And the other cloud providers, we just base it on, publicly available information, trying to determine reasonable PUE figures. And then finally, we convert the energy into estimated carbon dioxide equivalent based on, again, publicly available data sets for the grid emissions factors in locations the cloud providers have their data centers. So in the US, where I live, the EPA publishes grid emission factors annually. It's a year or two out of date, but they do publish them annually. The EEA for Europe do the same thing. Google have published their emissions factors for their regions a couple of months ago, which was really exciting to see. And then carbonfootprint.com also released a report. There's a couple of other data sources that we use for some countries where they don't exist in those data sets. One thing I will call out here is cloud carbon emissions as a cloud customer would normally fall under scope 3 emissions. There's scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3. And there's no guidance or requirements about reporting on scope 3. But what we're trying to help more organizations do is report on scope 3 emissions like you would report on scope 2. And you report 2 different metrics for scope 2 emissions: the location-based emissions, which are basically the carbon emissions generated in the first place that don't take into account energy attributes purchased by cloud providers. So you might have seen some cloud providers, say we're 100% renewable, and that's because of those energy attributes that on an annual basis, they might purchase this equivalent amount of energy to match the non-renewable energy for their data centers. So that's, the emissions credit in the first place is the location-based metric, and then the market-based metric takes those energy attributes into account. It's kind of a delta between the two. Our software currently just focuses on the location-based metrics to help organizations report on that. But we do welcome contributions to better factor in the energy attributes purchased by cloud providers. For example, Google also recently published the carbon-free energy percentage from their regions, which was really exciting to see. So just want to call that out. And I think the next slide is we're going to do a quick demo. So I'm just going to switch over to a different tab for a second. You jump back here. Okay, so I hope I'm now sharing the application. So this is the Cloud Carbon Footprint front end. And what you're looking at is the carbon emissions across roughly the last calendar year for Thoughtworks, our infrastructure. And up the top here, you can just see the metric tons of CO2 equivalent over time. And we provide a number of different filters out of the box. So you can filter by the various cloud providers, the various accounts, services being used. So you can see all the different services at the different cloud providers. And then you can also filter by different date and time period. And the components will update based on the filters you select. Also in this top view, we include the kilowatt hours as well, which really tracks very closely to the carbon emissions. And then we also include some cost metrics as well, so you can sort of compare and contrast between the cost versus the carbon emissions. This top component might be useful for maybe chief sustainability officer or sustainability lead who wants to look over time and see trends of carbon emissions from cloud. Maybe it's trending in a good downwards direction, or maybe not, and maybe they want to click and download the results into a CSV file for a reporting perspective. So it just gives you an overall kind of view over time of your cloud carbon emissions. Down here on the left, we have what calling a carbon equivalency component. Often when folks think about the carbon emissions from cloud usage, it can be a little bit disconnected from the real world impact of what that could be, a little bit abstract. So we're trying to make a little bit more of a real world impact of what these carbon emissions equate to. So 20 direct flights from London to New York, over 2 million smartphones charged, and then carbon removed from the atmosphere from 272 trees if they're grown over 10 years. And you can see the source for these. As I click through, we use the EPA and then a flight calculator, just trying to make it a little bit more human understandable. Over on the right, we have the breakdown of carbon emissions in a few different ways. We provide, out of the box, we provide breakdown by region, or cloud provider service, or your account as well. For the region breakdown, we've added a little bit of color coding to show low versus high carbon intensity. So as you can see here, we've got some work to do to select some greener regions for existing or new workloads that we're deploying to cloud providers. And again, as I said earlier, this doesn't take into account energy attributes or renewable energy directly purchased by cloud providers, just based on the grid intensity of the carbon emissions. And then the same is true for this carbon intensity map. So you can select your cloud provider and choose, and just have a look at the different regions and see which green or, more brown, just to give you a little bit of understanding. I will call out here, Google also, I can find the link and share it with folks, but Google also released a tool a couple of weeks or months ago that allows you to choose a bunch of factors, so sustainability, cost, and then location, given bandwidth considerations, and allows you to, gives you a prioritized list of regions based on how you prioritize those different factors. It's a really cool tool. So I would, if I can find the link, I'll send it through. But they, recently published that. It allows you to select GCP regions in a bit more detail. And then lastly, just over here, we've got a little card to pop out that provides a summary of the methodology that we use. And we also link out to a much more detailed full write-up of the methodology that we use. It goes into a lot of detail, and I'll be providing that with the slides as well. So you can have a read through and sort of understand in a lot more detail how the software works and the methodology that's behind it. Again, this is just the front end application. If you want to just use the command line interface or just utilize the API to pull some of those metrics, you can. But yeah, just wanted to share. This is one example of how you can utilize the data in a front end dashboard. Okay, I think I'm gonna stop screen sharing that one and jump back to my slide deck. One moment. Okay. Now, just a couple of ways that that you can get involved. So this is still a pretty new space, and me and the team at Thoughtworks every single day are coming across new information that we didn't know previously. And so just starting to learn more about green cloud and the clean tech space. I've provided some links here to the methodology that I mentioned earlier, very detailed write-up of how the software works in detail. And we also link from that to all the sources that we're using, the publicly available data sets. So you can check it out and keep us honest as well with how we're approaching it. We also published a one-page green cloud checklist that basically looks at different areas of your cloud usage or infrastructure, whether it's architecture or configuration or software practices, that gives you a little bit of a starting point for the different things to look at to reduce your cloud carbon emissions. And we've also published an article it was quite a few months ago now. We probably want to update it, but we published an article that goes through in a lot of detail and about how we can think about green cloud. It covers some of the content I went through today, and also links to some of the additional resources or tooling that is available. We'd love it if you enjoy the code or like the code base, for you to give it a star on GitHub. We'll send out the slides and you can check it out yourself. If you're a developer, we're really very interested in people contributing. We've got guidance on how to do that. We would love you to submit issues. We're really driven by the community and requests. We're very open to changing what the roadmap might look like. Right now, we're focused on building out a recommendations engine. So, providing recommendations for ways that you can reduce cloud carbon emissions and cost. Cloud providers provide some APIs for those recommendations. We're starting with those to begin with, but we're hoping to build on top of that and build in some intelligence into the tool. One thing that comes up all the time when I speak to folks about this is that, I care about this, but where do I start? What's the first, what's the start to optimize and reduce carbon emissions? And so we're hoping that building in some of those recommendations can give people just a place to start. We've also got a Google discussion group that you can join, and we email out major releases and have a bunch of questions coming in, and we can follow up with you. And I'll just call it out. There's been a number of occasions where myself or someone on the team has paired with someone in the open source community to get the application running. We're very open to giving working with folks to understand how it works, and if that means pairing with a bit of a screen share or an email thread, anything is available. And then we'd love you to try out the tool. Try measuring and reducing cloud emissions for your organization or your personal account. We'd love to hear how you went, if there's any insights that you were able to gain from that. Overall, we just love more people to try it out and give us feedback so we can provide more value and help move the IT industry towards being more carbon conscious about the applications that we build and our usage of cloud providers. So there's some ways to get involved. And we've got about 14 minutes left. So I think questions. I haven't been monitoring the chat, but I'm hoping there might be a question or two.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Dan. Absolutely brilliant presentation, and thank you for demoing it so well as well. So if we can get a round of applause, some clapping emojis wouldn't go amiss in the chat. Thank you very much for that, and just fantastic to see so many questions come through as well. But just on the product, it looks absolutely amazing, and I know you're going to get a lot of requests for links and information. We will do our best to kind of round everything up and send it out later today, as we mentioned. But hopefully there's some nice tricky questions for you coming up, Dan. We'll try and get through a few now, and then I'll bring Han back on in about sort of 7 or 8 minutes time, and then we'll finish up questions as well. So thank you very much again, and here we go. So first question is from Peter, who asks a question about cloud carbon footprint. I think that data processing happens where CCF is running, for example, on my laptop, rather than sending it off to Thoughtworks or some other cloudy place. Is that right?
Also, a bit of background noise. Yeah, that's completely correct. Whether it's running on your local laptop or deployed to a cloud provider or on-prem, the data just pulls from your cloud providers after authenticating and then exists in that environment, whether it's your local laptop. It doesn't send any of those metrics or data to Thoughtworks or anyone else. However, this question brings up a really interesting point and something that I'm very excited about for the medium-term roadmap. But we need to do it in a trustworthy and safe way. But if we could pull some of those metrics from organizations anonymously with maybe some other data like the organization size, the type of industry they're in, we might be able to start to understand what good looks like for a given organization size and type of industry, and what not so good looks like. And I would love it if, as a developer, I could log in and see a green cloud score for my company and benchmark myself against potential competitors or similar company types. So it's definitely not something we've implemented yet, but it is something we're thinking about on the medium or longer term roadmap, because there could be some real value in there. Standards are something that's really lacking in this space. And so if we can start to combine some of those metrics and develop some of those standards or consensus, it could be really valuable.
Fantastic. Yeah, certainly sounds like a great idea. Thanks for that one. Next question from Vinco. You said that the estimates are new and we don't know what we don't know, but what do we know about how precise those numbers are?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Just to elaborate a little bit further. So when we pull the usage data from cloud providers, we classify it as compute, storage, networking, or memory based on details from the billing data from the cloud providers. And there are some cases where we just don't know enough about the underlying infrastructure and architecture for a given cloud service that we have to classify it as unknown. And in those cases, we're kind of missing the carbon estimates with those usages. The tool itself quite transparently lists where those cases exist. So you can, if you know what the underlying infrastructure might be and are able to do an estimation for energy and carbon emissions, you could submit that as a pull request or an issue to the open source code base. So we're trying to be really transparent about it. I feel like we're pretty solidly confident with the way that we're classifying the usage types when we do know. I think it's pretty obvious, if you have an EC2 instance on AWS, it's going to be compute, maybe with some memory attached to it based on the instance type you select. But I think where we don't quite understand the underlying technology that powers some of the more managed or abstracted services, that's where we have less accuracy and less certainty, I would say. So I can't give you a specific figure or number on how confident, but I think with where we're able to classify the usage types, I feel fairly confident with it. It's really just the more abstract managed services that we have less information of and are potentially underestimating when it comes to those.
Brilliant, thanks for that. Great stuff. Another one from Vinco, great question. Can you talk a bit about how this project was created internally at Thoughtworks and how the momentum was generated to get it done?
That's also another great question. So Thoughtworks, where I didn't really explain what Thoughtworks is, but we're a global software consulting company, been around about 27 years, and we're founded by a really left-leaning progressive individual. And so social, economic, and climate justice are really instilled into the core DNA of the organization. So what that has meant over the last 25 years, we have worked on a number of clean tech projects, whether it is building an open source energy modeling system in Australia that prior to that it was kind of time intensive and costly to model the supply and demand of energy markets, or we built an API in the US to allow for fractional offsetting. And so basically about a year and a half ago in North America, we looked at over the history of some of these more ad hoc clean tech or green tech projects that we've done, and wanted to make a more deliberate, focused investment in thinking through and building out value propositions or solutions to help our clients meet sustainability needs. And green cloud has been the primary focus initially to start with, but we might have other focus areas like sustainable UX in the future. And so the project came about by us really asking ourselves the question, could we build a proof of concept that pulls usage data and estimates energy and carbon emissions based on the latest research? And so it really just started as an experiment to see if we could do that. We started with AWS, then added Google Cloud, then we worked on building it out to work at scale with all of Thoughtworks infrastructure. We have some, good amount of usage at all three major cloud providers, added in Microsoft Azure at the start of this year. And I think through that process, we've just been constantly learning and proving out that estimating is possible. And there's always ways to improve and make it more accurate. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And more specifically, this is sustainability and clean tech is really a strategic priority for the organization. So it's a very small team. It's just myself and three other people at Thoughtworks focused on this at the moment. While developers are not working with clients, they might join our team for a couple of weeks and then leave. So we've had a bit of stop and starting in terms of team size, but yeah, it really, that's sort of how it started and how it got to this point. And often some people ask why open source. Thoughtworks, we're a huge supporter of open source, one of the top 10 contributors. And it's really just, we really believe in the values that underpin the open source community. And it's really important for us, if we are leveraging the software within a client project or something, that if there's any extensions or improvements we make, we want to try and bake that back into the open source tool so it can be available to everyone.
Fantastic. Thanks for talking us through that. Great. We've got another question here from Adrian. So do you have any thoughts on the need for standards for energy consumption? So comparing like with like.
Yeah, I really just what I was saying before, in that there isn't really any standards that currently exist, but there is a large amount of interest for people to build out some standards. What I do think about it is that it needs to be a collaborative effort between, for-profit companies, non-profits, academic institutions, governments, to really build some consensus on those types of standards. It can't just be some for-profit companies or big tech making some of those decisions. It really needs to involve all different facets of the community and different diverse perspectives, also geographical perspectives, different parts of the world, because trust is really important when it comes to this work. And I don't think we can, create or leverage that sort of trust. I will call a quick call out, working with Microsoft and Accenture and GitHub, Thoughtworks. We recently founded the Green Software Foundation, and there's going to be a working group specifically focused on standards within that. So greensoftware.foundation, you can check it out. We've got a bit of a website. So if there's any organizations interested in joining, we have membership applications open, and there's a specific working group going to be focused on some of those standards.
Fantastic. Yeah, thank you for that one. We are going to bring Hannah back very briefly, just to sort of bookend the event and tell us about future events. So Dan, we'll get through the other questions. You're doing really well after Hannah's quickly wrapped everything up. So yeah, everyone do stick around for that. Hannah, it's over to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Mike. Great. So we know that many of you will only have an hour for lunch and will need to hop back. So there's a few things that we'd like to tell you about, which is why I'm back on screen in the middle of the questions. And then once I've finished, we'll go back to all the questions. And hopefully, if Dan can cope with it, we will go through all the questions that you've kindly submitted. So hope you really enjoyed the talk. I thought it was brilliant. I'd like just to signpost you to some other upcoming events of interest. So we, within Green Tech Southwest, try and involve ourselves within the climate tech community as much as we can. So we like to signpost you to other stuff that's going on. We mentioned that we are supported by an organisation called the Future Economy Network. The Future Economy Network is based in Bristol, and it's actually down the road from me at the bottom of Gloucester Road. They have a co-working space, an event space, and they also do loads and loads of stuff around supporting businesses that want to green. Now, I know that we have a lot of people from all over the place today, but if you are UK based and you are Southwest based and you haven't heard of FEN yet, we call it FEN, Future Economy Network, do check them out. picked out a couple of really interesting events that I think are coming up. 29th of July, Going Green, Being Seen, how sustainability will help your business. And then 21st of September, they are running a Festival of Sustainable Business, which is going to be both online and in person. So that will be interesting. So we just want to give a shout out to FEN and say check them out as an organisation if you haven't yet. Now, I know that there will be a lot of people here today, or I hope there'll be a lot of people here today from CAT, climateaction.tech. Dan is a member of CAT, so am I. I've been posting everywhere in CAT Slack that we have Dan's event today. If you haven't heard of CAT yet, and you are interested in taking action to tackle climate change and using any tech skills that you have to do that, come and join us in the community. It's a great community. We have a Slack community. They also run events. They're called CAT Salons. They're every couple of weeks. And it's they do some really, really great topics. And in fact, Dan has given this talk at a CAT Salon as well. And also, if you haven't yet come across Branch magazine, I'm hoping someone could pop that in the comments for me whilst we're talking. Branch magazine is a collection of incredibly well-written articles all about creating a sustainable and just internet. So it talks about technical stuff, but it also, thank you, Peter, I see you just popped the link in. It talks about technical stuff, but also a lot around the social issues that we need in order to create a truly green and sustainable web. It is absolutely brilliant, the content on there. I can't recommend it highly enough. And issue 2 has literally only just come out, so well worth a look. On that topic of Branch, now we're still firming up the details of this talk with Michelle, but we should have Michelle coming along, who is the managing editor of Branch. She's going to tell us all about Branch magazine, because not only are the articles on that website super interesting, but the website itself is responsive to the UK grid. So you get a different website experience if the grid is high intensity, high carbon intensity, medium intensity, or low intensity. So that's going to be a really, really cool talk. We think it's Tuesday the 28th of Sep, but we're just waiting for Michelle to confirm that. Following that, I had a feeling the faces might get in the way. Sorry, you probably can't see the bottom space. After that, we are doing an event as part of Bristol Tech Fest, and we have gathered together 3 individuals who we think are doing some really exciting green tech stuff in the Bristol space. So we've got Jaya Chakrabarti, and she's going to be talking about Project Varna. We've got Rachel Mills, who is going to talk to us about what she's doing at Buttercup Learning. And we also have, and I'm so sorry that you probably can't see Molly, Molly Allington from Albotherm. And Molly is CEO of Albotherm and is looking at innovative ways to help buildings stay cool without using aircon. Really, really excited about that lineup. They happen to all be women, just a coincidence. But we thought all 3 of them are doing some really interesting green tech things. So we hope you can join us for that. I'm almost done. Last up, if you have enjoyed today's event, and if you generally like what we're doing at Green Tech Southwest, feel free to plant us some trees in our ecology forest. Ecology are a Bristol-based company who provide offsets by planting trees. Guess what? They're also based in the Southwest. So much cool stuff happens here. You can have a look at our forest, ecology.com/GTSW. I think we've planted about 1,500 trees in this community now, which is like, wow, amazing. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts to everybody that has donated some trees. It's usually like the cost of a cup of coffee or a pint, half pint, to do that. So it's a couple of quid. So we're really, really grateful, and we get incredibly excited when we see new trees pop in. As always, your feedback means a lot to us. I saw some comments about the polls. Maybe people wanted to sort of come back on the polls. Any feedback is always gratefully received by us. We miss being in a room in person with you. We get a lot more feedback that way. So if you do have the time and you want to tell us something, just email us or use Meetup. Okay, that's me done for today. We'll post a link again to the summary, the Medium post that we did summarising all the green software engineering talks that we've done within Green Tech Southwest. Dan has reappeared on the screen and Mike has reappeared on screen as if on cue. Wonderful stuff. So I'll pass you back over to them. And Dan, thank you so much for an awesome talk today. Really, really enjoyed that. And the comments have been buzzing whilst you were talking as well. So that's brilliant. Right, back to the questions. Thanks again, everyone. For those of you that need to leave, thanks for joining us today. And we hope to see you again soon.
Great stuff. Thank you, Hannah. We'll see you soon. Cool. Thank you, everyone, for staying. There's still a lot of you here, so appreciate that. Dan, we're going to jump in and power through, if that's okay.
Sounds good.
Cool. So we've got a question, another one from Adrian. Can you get figures by a group of services within, for example, AWS, so we can see usage for a single front-end service, for example, if tagged appropriately in AWS?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's definitely on the roadmap to support tags with AWS, and I believe Google and Azure have a similar equivalent. They might call them slightly different, because we know that while some organizations might group your teams or applications by account or maybe in a region or something that we do support filtering by already, many organizations don't, and it does group, you group your resources by tag. So it doesn't, we don't currently support that, but it's definitely on the roadmap. And I think we're here at Thoughtworks, we don't use tags very effectively to group our resources. So I think it would be awesome if we had like a specific use case or an organization where they do use tags, so we can go about that implementation with a real world example rather than, you know, doing it abstractly. So I think one of the reasons maybe we haven't got to it yet is that we're using the software internally and we just haven't really been using tags, but definitely on the roadmap.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. Next one, another great question from Vinco. How would you suggest someone can help make a company care about cloud and software efficiency in general? What are the best arguments?
Yeah, this is a tough one because it's really organizationally specific. You know, leadership in your organization is really important when it comes to this work. We've often found that the CTO or head of technology or CIO is potentially ultimate decision maker when it comes to investing or, you know, doing work in this space, but they can be heavily influenced by chief sustainability officers or even the finance and operations team, because the value proposition is not only to reduce carbon emissions, but also optimize to reduce costs. I often like to think of sustainability as optimization. It's like that's a core part of it. So the arguments really depend on who you're talking to and what their motivations are. There's definitely a financial case if someone's considering the bottom line. I, you know, strongly believe that if you do optimize to reduce energy and emissions, you're also going to be reducing cost with a cloud provider, and that can really get some people on side if that's one of the key motivators. We've also heard from a number of organizations that developers themselves are more motivated to optimize their cloud usage because of sustainability factors than because of cost in the first place. So I actually think developers can be incredibly motivated by the real world impact of, you know, reducing carbon emissions in the first place for your cloud usage. So another case I would just put forward is some of the numbers. I referenced some articles towards the start of my talk about some of those percentages that you can see in terms of reduction in terms of carbon and cost. And I think equipping decision makers with some of those figures and numbers and what the potential could be is really important. So those are some of the cases I'd put forward, but I'd also recommend really thinking about what are the motivating factors of decision makers within an organization, because you're ultimately going to need some buy-in from leadership for sure. Other quick ones I'll mention is brand. You know, more and more sustainability is becoming increasingly important for companies, and there's a brand case. There's a really compelling story you can tell from for your organization and brand by working in this space. And also, people want to work at companies that are doing innovative work and solving sustainability related problems. So there's a case to be made for hiring, retention, and also investors and customers are increasingly looking to this stuff. So I kind of like to think of Green Cloud as a win-win for all stakeholders, because there's potential benefits from anyone involved in an organization.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. Some really good points made. On to a question from Graham. Says possibly you've answered this one already, but you mentioned KPIs and baking sustainability into organisations. Are there any interesting or established metric frameworks that could be used to get an organisation up and running quickly from a more managerial perspective?
So the most commonly used framework is the greenhouse gas protocol. There's actually been some interesting articles or papers written on how it's challenging or nearly impossible to apply the greenhouse gas protocol when it comes to cloud carbon emissions. And so I think this kind of goes back to the standards discussion we were having before, and that there isn't a really great framework or standards that exist, but I do hope that as an industry we can start to build on those over the coming weeks. And so, yeah, I don't have a great answer to that question, but I'm hoping that, you know, this community and other tech communities can start to develop better answers for frameworks for this work.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, thank you. Okay, one from Patrick. I love your tool, but sadly it does not support the cloud provider our organisation uses. It'd be quite interesting to find out who that is. Do you have plans to add other providers?
For sure. We started with those three because they're three of the largest, but we fully recognize that many organizations are on other cloud providers, or honestly on-prem or co-located data centers. You know, we've structured the code base in a way that the core business logic that estimates energy and carbon emissions is separate from the packages that actually request the data from the cloud providers. And so if we were to add an additional provider, there's the patterns already in place to do that, and it's just about creating that additional package and making sure that the data comes in and is transformed into the required format that the estimation code you know needs it in. And so it's not on the short or like immediate roadmap, but again, as I said before, we're very we consider servant leadership a really important principle for our team, and we want to serve the community. So if there is demand for adding a different cloud provider, whether it's Alibaba Cloud or Heroku or WordPress, we would be very open to adding support for it.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, Patrick's just said in the comments actually, IBM Cloud is the one that he's using there.
Yeah, I've heard of a couple of folks interested in adding support for IBM Cloud, and they also are a very large cloud provider. I think a number of our clients work with them. So yeah, I think there could be a case for that. It's just with our small team with the priorities, you know, are we going to work on that or the recommendations engine or other things? So again, Patrick, I'm not sure if you're a developer or you have developers, but we would, yeah, if you have ability to contribute for that, or at least point us in the right direction, because I'm not familiar with the IBM APIs, it could be super helpful.
Great stuff. Thank you for that. Cool. One from Simon. What was the most challenging, firstly, part of the project, and secondly, piece of information you had to source?
Challenging part of the project. I think performance was a really challenging area that we spent a number of weeks on. When you start to have hundreds of thousands of rows in the billing and usage data that you're pulling through and then using those to estimate, you can really hit up into some performance options. And you know, we started to hit those pretty early with Thoughtworks infrastructure, and so we spent a bunch of time trying to optimize performance. One way that we've done that is that we provide options to group the results in a variable level of granularity based on time. So if you group the results by hour or by day, that is a significant amount of data that needs to be processed, right? It's kind of like a SQL group by function, essentially. But if you group by week or by month, it reduces the amount of data that you need to process in orders of magnitude. And so we provide some of those options out of the box for you. If you do have, you know, it takes a while for the estimates to be generated, you can select some of those. And we found that option is fairly sufficient for most use cases for the software. So that performance was definitely has been a challenge, and probably will continue to be a challenge as we're, you know, adding more features on. What was the second part of the question?
Yeah, the most challenging piece of information you had to source.
Yeah, so I would, if I had to choose one, I think determining a reasonable coefficient for networking usage, so the amount of gigabytes transferred, not within a data center. We don't consider that because we're fairly confident that the energy to transfer data within a data center is negligible, but between data centers at a cloud provider, but also not energy going from a cloud provider to the internet or an end user, because that's highly dependent on the physical infrastructure that internet service providers build, and we don't have information about that. It's also somewhat dependent on the end user device as well and the power consumption. So determining a coefficient for a given amount of terabytes or gigabytes, what does that mean for a cloud provider in terms of the energy consumption? We had a bunch of help from the open source community and some of our innovation partners looking at research, and we think we've settled on a fairly reasonable, it's a very, very low coefficient compared to some of the research over the last decade, because we're fairly confident that cloud providers have, if not one of the most efficient networks between their data centers. So that was definitely an area that was challenging. Also, a coefficient for memory was also somewhat challenging.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Simon. Next question is from Adrian. What type of usage gives situations where cost isn't a good proxy for CO2e?
Yeah, so one example I like to share is, let's say you have a significant amount of data located in let's say Australia, where I'm from. The grid carbon intensity in Australia is pretty poor compared to Europe or maybe the West Coast in the US. And so you have a large data set there, and it's, storing it and accessing it, using it is creating a lot of carbon emissions. It makes sense for you to move that large amount of data to a more renewable region, right? Over in Europe, for example, that will reduce the carbon emissions. Cloud providers nearly always have large egress costs to move data sets from one region to another. And so while it makes sense from a sustainability perspective for you to move that data to a different location, it could be inhibitive or not possible from a cost perspective. And we've heard from a number of clients that can be a real challenge. Because moving to a more renewable region is, on paper, seems like a simple change or configuration change for you to do, but there can often be complexities involved in doing that. So that would be one example. Another factor is time of day. So I think I saw this in the questions. Our application doesn't use hourly or hour by hour conversion from energy to carbon emissions just yet. We are in active conversations with Electricity Map team tomorrow, the organization tomorrow, to see how we can incorporate that at some point in time. But a workload running at one time in the day might be very renewable based on the grid intensity at that time, but it might not necessarily be cheaper to run at that time of day in that location. So that's another factor to consider.
Great, thank you for that. So yeah, you might have half answered that one actually. The next one from Phil. Where do you source your grid intensity information? Does it follow changes throughout the day? For example, Electricity Map or what time?
Yeah, Phil, they are awesome. Yeah, we've had some great conversation. Yeah, so not yet, but definitely on the roadmap. We would love to do hour by hour metrics and support that. We just haven't got to it yet, but we're definitely really interested. As we basically just use publicly available data sets published by the EPA, the EA, Google themselves when it comes to Google Cloud. One interesting thing is that we thought about whether we could use the published Google Cloud emissions factors for other cloud providers. And unless we get a statement that we could use publicly around those metrics, while I personally think it's probably quite similar, potentially more accurate than the EPA, the EA, I don't feel confident enough in terms of updating the application without getting some sort of positive confirmation that we could reuse some of those grid intensity factors. So for AWS and Azure or IBM in the future, we're still defaulting to what's provided by governments or some other nonprofits.
Great, thank you for that. I think this is Katie Adelina. Amazing software. Are there any video tutorials on how to do the installation? Does it work for WordPress?
Doesn't currently work for WordPress, but that would definitely fall in the category of something we would love to support on the roadmap, like IBM and other cloud providers. We actually don't really have a video tutorial, but I think it's an excellent idea, and I'm actually kind of surprised that we haven't done one yet. I will say that I've been in conversation. Chris Adams from the Green Software Foundation, I've been pinging a bit back and forth. He was interested in doing a similar thing where we do a screencast where we go in technical detail about how to set it up, how to configure it. So hopefully we might work on that this month. Now, I've just been in Australia for the last month getting my US visa renewed, but now I'm back in the US time zone. I can collaborate a little bit better with my colleagues. So I think that's something that we should action sooner than later. Sure.
Great stuff. Thank you. Question from Simon Forsyth. Question he gets asked most whilst doing footprints. What should staff aim to do or not do when working from home, such as minimize web browsing, shorter web conferences, minimal emails? What are your thoughts?
That's a great question. I don't have a really great data-driven answer for you on that. I have to admit I haven't done too much research into the personal implications or responsibilities as individuals. I think potentially some of the other Green Tech Southwest presenters might have better answer for me than me on this one. So I don't have a really great answer for you. Other than I will say that the type of device that you're using can be unplug your laptop when card. Yeah, exactly, from Phil. I think the type of device you're using it actually can have a pretty big impact on the energy consumption. So older devices are less energy efficient than more modern devices. So update, it might be cost inhibitive and not possible for you to have like the latest version of, a MacBook or whatever laptop or phone that you're using. But if you are fortunate enough to have the ability to use a more latest version of device, that would could be helpful. I'd also recommend just becoming aware of the power source for your electricity at home and what the grid mix might be from that, and look into whether there's any potential for you to utilize renewable energy or even purchase renewable energy attributes like credits like cloud providers do. It's entirely possible for us as individuals to do that as well. So unfortunately, I don't have the crisp link to the resource to do that, but I think that would be those would be some things that I'd look into.
Great, thank you for that. We do have a ton of information on that topic. As Hannah mentioned, as part of our sort of speaker alumni, I think we've got 5 or 6 very similar sort of themes being covered in previous talks. So yeah, I'm sure we can help you with that as well. So next one from Abhishek. Are you able to handle serverless components, for example, Azure function lambdas, to estimate the carbon footprint? And how do you bucket that in terms of compute, networking, storage, and memory?
Yeah, so serverless is a really interesting use case. So we've actually developed a specific custom methodology for AWS Lambda. We have not applied that same methodology to Google Cloud or Azure Functions just yet, but I think I think there's been a link to the methodology. There's a specific section about AWS Lambda, and it's based on the amount of memory that you allocate to a given Lambda function within AWS. They have published for a given amount of memory, what that roughly is equivalent to in terms of virtual CPUs. And so if we know the amount of memory that you have allocated and the time that Lambda function runs, we can essentially do a compute estimation based off some of those data sets. So I feel pretty good about the methodology for AWS Lambda. We haven't applied the same approach to Google Cloud or Azure just yet, because we haven't had the same amount of detail published by those cloud providers. But yeah, you can read more about it. I will say that what we found with internal testing and using is that the carbon emissions from Lambda are significantly less compared to EC2 instances or specific machine types that you might have deployed. It's definitely a good recommendation. If you can move something to be serverless, it's highly likely that it's going to reduce the energy consumption. And just specifically, it's mostly compute. There is some memory that we can allocate, memory usage, but it's mostly compute usage type when it comes to Lambda.
Brilliant, thank you for that. And we're actually down to the last question. So from Matt. Are there customer communities you're aware of where users of cloud services are sharing information and learnings in this space with each other?
I think I would just call out, which has already been mentioned, the climateaction.tech community. I highly recommend joining. There's a channel in there called Green Infra where people are posting latest research and information found, and I found that channel in the climateaction.tech community a really valuable source. There's a large number of professionals from customers of all cloud providers sort of discussing and sharing information on that topic. So that would definitely be a really good starting point. Yeah, that would be the main community, I'd say, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You're done. That's 15 questions answered. That's the most we've ever had on a setting before. So yeah, congrats, and thank you everyone for all those amazing questions and giving Dan a good test there. But yeah, really appreciate obviously coming along, Dan, and thanks so much. It's such an incredible tool. We really we're going to follow it with extreme interest, and obviously we'll be passing on your information to anyone who would like to pick up a chat from here. So yeah, just a final round of applause in the comments before we let Dan go. Thank you very much. Great stuff. Well, yeah, Ben, yeah, we will just spot in the comments there. We will send out a full update this afternoon with everything that's been covered today. So thank you very much again, Dan, and yeah, we'll let you go. We really appreciate your time, and thank you everyone for coming, and we hope to see you all soon.
My pleasure.
Cheers. Take care.
Thanks, folks.
Bye.